Good morning, guys. I'm Greg. This is Stephanie. We are real estate agents here in the Florida Keys. This is our podcast, Living in Key West. And this is a new series we got going on, Island Stories. We're talking about people who make our island flow and go. And guess what? This is our first one. So this is episode 1 of the new series. Stephanie.
Yeah.
What's up? Go ahead. Shoot,
so
you're up.
We are so lucky that our first guest is Tammy Fox from Florida Keys SPCA.
Oh, I could press this little play button here and make it
like a
celebration.
Sound, yeah, like an applause or something. So I'm going to have Tammy introduce herself because I won't do her justice. So Tammy, tell us who you are.
Start off at 1.
At 1?
Age 1.
Age 1 and just until
That's present. A lot of years between 1 and now. So I am lucky to be the executive director for the Florida Keys SPCA. Mm-hmm. I've been with the organization since 2005. I left for a brief period between 2009 and 2012, and then I came back to help the organization build a new safe shelter for the community. Mm-hmm. And I'm very grateful. And animal welfare is my passion and my life, and that's me.
That's you, in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Works for me. And I will say we have toured the facility.
Oh my gosh.
And it is one of the most outstanding facilities I've toured. Not that I've toured a ton, but put it up there.
But we've been in quite a few.
We have been in quite a few
shelters.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not, this one's
at top of the list by far. Yeah. By far.
There's a lot of love in those walls.
Yeah. I thought, truthfully, the part of the tour, I thought one of the thing that stuck out to me, I mean, all of it did, but was the AC system.
Oh, the air filtration.
Yes.
Greg can't stop talking about the...
Well, I mean, it's, you can shut off if you have an outbreak of something, or if you got something crazy going, you can shut off individual rooms.
So let's talk about the facility and how that came to be. Tell us the story of that.
Sure. So the Florida Keys SPCA received a contract to do animal control services for Monroe County in 1999. And at that time, it was operating out of a little facility on Stock Island, actually where they're building the new apartments now on College Road.
Oh, nice.
Yep. And it was built on the old pound mentality. There wasn't a whole lot of thought about enrichment opportunities and making the stay as comfortable for the animals as possible. Mm-hmm. Plus, the building had, over the number of years, had deteriorated. So it flooded in a heavy rain, not even just a hurricane. We would have to dig trenches to keep the animals dry. I would wake up sometimes in the middle of the night and worry that animals were standing in water and rush down there to dig trenches. We had a rat problem. There was crumbling concrete. The rats weren't even scared of us anymore. They would just...
They're waiting for food, right?
Yeah.
Long-term residents.
Yeah. So it was just really not a great facility, not only for the animals, but for the staff working there.
Yeah.
And so the Florida Keys SPCA made a proposal to the county that we would fundraise and build a new facility for the community with a long-term contract. Mm-hmm. And that's what we set out to do. And we built a 24,000 square foot building that is Category 5 rated and has a generator that can operate the facility during and after a storm, keep all the animals high and dry and safe. And we're very proud of it.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. I felt like, I think our takeaway when we left was almost like everything was thought of.
Yeah.
There wasn't, because I remember going and I'd be looking at something and just from our other rescue work we've done, our shelters we've been in, and I'd be like, okay, this would be nice. Oh, they have that. Or this would be, wait a second. So it was... It's truly a phenomenal facility.
I do have some of those thoughts now. The major one now is what I wish we had done. And in retrospect, the number of small animals that we had then was smaller than what we're dealing with now with respect to rabbits. So I wish we had the forethought to construct bigger spaces to house the small animals that we're getting. Because that, even though we have a retail ban in Key West, people are getting them, and then we get them, and they're hard to adopt. I mean, rabbits are a child-motivated pet, usually. So the numbers that are coming in doesn't match the numbers going out. So we have to deal with that.
Yeah, housing. Well, that was another thing that struck me is, I know like in the other places where we've ever worked in rescue, it's almost exclusively dogs and cats, and you guys have
everything.
Everything.
We have 9 leopard spotted geckos right now that came in last week.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you have the birds there in the front.
And,
Yeah.
right. Was it hamsters or guinea pigs? When we were walking by, someone was in there, volunteers in there, just massaging a little hamster or guinea pig's feet because they had sore feet. I have sore feet and I don't get my feet massaged. So they're getting
we have equality for all animals at the Florida Keys SPCA. We actually have a group, the Bunnies and Buddies Club, that actually they do things like that for all the small animals, and they come in and they have they eat better than I do. They've got like a smorgasbord of fresh vegetables and treats, and
it's perfect.
Yeah,
it's like the holy grail of like animal welfare, I think,
and how it should be.
How it should be, absolutely.
How it should be, right?
Yeah. And I think that's like a changing tide, because if you think about like what you were saying, like the old school mentality of like the pound versus like a facility that actually thinks of the animals as something that should be cared for, and like all of the, all of their needs. And
part of that is, for me with this facility, some of it goes back to when I was a very little girl, because my dad was the executive director for Montgomery County Humane Society up just outside of DC. And so I grew up in the late 70s going to the shelter and hanging out in the puppy cage, which was at that time a communal cage with just newspaper and puppies and other things. And, I had no problem. I was sitting there with the puppies. But back then, there were time limits. And, that was something that I had to grapple with as a very young girl, having that explained to me. And so I, at a very young age, said, well, why aren't we doing more to get these animals adopted? And then it just stuck with me. And that's...
the seed was planted.
Yeah. So some of that is in our new facility as well. Enrichment is important so that they stay happy and healthy, mentally healthy, because that's just as important as physically healthy. So
I think a lot of people don't really realize that when it comes to animals in like a rescue or a shelter situation, is the mental part of it. A lot of people don't really realize that. And I feel like, at least from our experience, a lot of times it's the mental aspect that can prevent an animal from being adopted, because they're not showing as their best selves, because they've deteriorated mentally in the facility. And so having that is so important. It's not, I could see someone rolling their eyes and being like, oh, mental enrichment. And it's like, really, it can make a huge difference.
There's such a thing as kennel stress. I'm sure in your experience in rescue work. And that can be just detrimental to the health of the animal, but also our ability to get them adopted. And for the success in the home once they get there.
Right.
So, we have dog trainer on staff, and we have a cat team member that works with their behavior helplines for both cats and dogs, and small animals. So if somebody has a question, they can call, and we try to address that early before they get surrendered. So there's a lot of work into creating programs and resources devoted to keeping the animals in the home as opposed to surrender. That's the first step. And then once we get them, keeping them happy and healthy, but also rehabilitating some behaviors they may have that cause that bond to break in the first place, so that the next time they go into a home, they're best chance for success.
So another thing that we were really impressed by too was your programs. So I want to talk about those a little bit. And I'm sure you have so many more than we know about, but just the ones that we know about, I was so impressed by. So I know that we have a lot of individuals who are seeking political asylum here, specifically from Cuba, and I think maybe Honduras is like
Haiti.
Okay,
big one.
Yeah, and I didn't know this until we were walking your facility with you, and you educated us on it. But many of them actually do bring their pets with them, which makes sense. They're family, right?
Yeah.
And so if we were leaving our home, we would take our girls for sure.
100%. Yeah.
But the problem is that there's a quarantine issue and other things coming from other countries. So talk about what you guys have implemented since this has become...
Sure. So in the past, we've always received maybe one or two animals that have come over with their pet owners. And it hasn't always been dogs. It's also pigeons sometimes, racing pigeons. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So recently, within the last year, that number has increased. People have the dynamic of what's coming over has changed. Now it's entire families. So it's, the parents, the kids, the grandparents, and the pets, which is a good thing. You want people to consider their pets as family. So the challenge is CDC and USDA have quarantine requirements. They were not ready to figure out how to deal with animals that were coming over illegally in this number. I mean, they know how to deal with the ones that are coming over legally.
Right, like if someone orders a German Shepherd from Germany and gets shipped over, there's a plan and a process in place for that. But people show up with a salad bowl of puppies.
Right? That's an actual thing.
Yes.
We still have those puppies, actually, and they're finishing their quarantine. Typically if they're coming over legally, the pet owner knows what paperwork to fill out, and they quarantine them at a CDC approved facility, and then they pay the fee, which is large.
Yeah. Is it like $3,000?
$4,000 a month.
Oh my gosh.
Per animal.
Wow.
So obviously these people, I mean, they're just coming over with what they've got, right? They don't have the funds to do this. So the Florida Keys SPCA, when we started getting these numbers increased and we saw the attachment that these families had to their pets, we wanted to be able to do what we could to try to keep those pets with their families, both for the animals and for the family. So there's a human perspective just as much as there is for the animals. So, so we said, we'll quarantine them here. Our vet is a USDA certified vet. She could sign off on the paperwork. But the quarantines are long. So they range from anywhere between 28 days and 6 months, depending on the criteria of that animal. We received 42 of these animals since June of 2022.
Wow.
And we've quarantined them, and 96% of those animals have been reclaimed to their pet owners.
That's amazing. That's an amazing feat. Truly, I'm so impressed.
The whole thing as a whole.
Yes, the creation of the program, the dealing with it on the fly, and the being able to reunite.
Yeah, because it's not like you're keeping those for the weekend.
Right.
No.
You have them when we toured the facility. I don't know how long ago it was now, a month or two ago, probably longer than that, but you had those puppies. You still have the puppies, and those were puppies.
Little puppies.
So, and those are a lot of work to upkeep and all that, but you keep them for up to 6 months, like you said.
Yeah. And a lot of mental enrichment has to go into when we're quarantining these animals. And when these animals get reclaimed to their pet owners, there's not a dry eye in the house, because what happens is the staff become emotionally invested in these animals. I mean, and that's what I want. We consider all of those animals in the facility, they are ours until they get adopted. And so we love them and we take care of them and we get attached to them. A lot of people will, there's some criticism with respect to our adoption process, because I think a lot of people don't understand that emotional element. We want to know that they're going to a safe place, and we want to know that it's a good match, and that, if you want a couch potato that's going to sit on the couch and watch TV and eat Cheetos, that you and you're interested in a 4-month-old lab.
Yeah.
There's not really a great match there.
Well, you're trying to prevent people from bringing them back.
Or getting a puppy that's cute, and then once the puppy's grown and destructive, bringing the dog back, and then you're dealing with adopting a big destructive dog.
That has no training.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the reason for the adoption process, and why sometimes we may be like, well, this isn't a good match. How about we try this? Yeah. So with these particular dogs that have come over from Cuba, it's the same thing. We get very attached, get emotional when they go home. We're so happy. And the pet owners are happy. And what's really interesting is when you see these dogs, they've been on quarantine, so they haven't seen their families sometimes for a few months. And so there's a moment there where they don't know, and then you can see it click. And the dog's like, oh my God, it's you. And they get so excited. And they're, very jubilant, and their tails are wagging. And, and it's a very heartwarming experience. And I'm very grateful that we can provide it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think, if you haven't worked in animal welfare in any capacity, I don't think people understand sometimes the bureaucracy or the challenges, even just financially, in implementing programs like that on the fly. So it's not a small thing to implement any program on the fly like that, but certainly one at that level where you're talking about federal laws and quarantine laws,
USDA approved,
and also, you guys have to have space, and luckily you have this amazing facility, but space where they are literally quarantined. They are in there. They are the only ones that can be in there. There's only a very limited number of staff that can even interact with them. So it's an entire, there's a bottleneck even there where you're having to come up with this workflow and have this whole other kind of, I guess, tasks or whatever that you have to do in this certain way. It's like you can't just work them into your day and your normal workflow that you would with the other animals. It's like this whole other project and job. It's huge. I just want to highlight how much of a accomplishment it is and how amazing it is that you guys were able to do that, because I think the alternative was what?
They would have had to go to the CDC approved facility, which there's one, it's called Pet Limo in Miami, and pay the $4,000 to reclaim them at the end of the quarantine.
Which they couldn't.
So
$4,000 per month.
Yeah, none of them are getting reclaimed
No.
at that point. For
Probably.
the most part.
I would imagine it would be very difficult.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be 96%.
No,
Right.
not even close.
Not even close,
No.
yeah. So, and that actually kind of goes back to what Greg was starting to allude to with regard to the facility and the air filtration system is if you have like a quarantine situation or you have an outbreak of like a respiratory virus or something like that, you're able to cordon off, even from an airflow standpoint, that area to help keep the disease quarantined to that one area, which is, again, if you have, experience in animal rescue or any sort of shelter environment, that's a huge issue where if they don't have that, it spreads like wildfire.
Yes.
So to have that that ability to do that is another amazing feat, and what you were so impressed by when we were at the.
That's why the building is freezing. It starts
Yeah.
at
Yes.
52 degrees. That's what the air starts at in the airflow system, and then we have to actually heat it up if we want to be comfortable. Which is why I wear sweaters all the time. People are like, "You live down in the Keys and you're wearing sweaters?"
Yeah.
It's because I'm at work a lot. When I'm in there, I have a space heater in my office.
Yeah.
It's
It's
so
cold.
Yeah. But it feels like healthier and cleaner in there because it is cold. And,
It was one of the things when COVID was going around, and it does so many air changes per minute, and it starts so cold. We were like, well, maybe we should, it's safer in the building than it is.
You're right.
anywhere else.
Truly. So the other program that we talked about while we were there that I'm just so excited to highlight is is it the Safe Haven program? Am I remembering that
Yes.
correctly? Okay, so it's domestic violence
Yes.
shelter.
Yep. So when I came to the Florida Keys SPCA in 2005, this is one of the biggest programs that I wanted to start. I have been a victim of domestic abuse, and I was in a situation where I had 2 dogs, and it was difficult for me to leave. So we actually, at that time, the program was named the Faith Program. And it was after a dog that had come into the facility. And we've since changed it to the Safe Haven Program because we've also, it's basically individuals that are in some sort of emergent situation.
Okay.
They go into the hospital. They don't have anyone to watch their pet. They've recently become homeless, and it's a temporary situation. There's a variety of things for which we will place an animal in the Safe Haven Program to try to keep it safe while the pet owner gets back on their feet and then can reclaim them.
Okay.
The domestic abuse portion of it is very important because statistically, victims of domestic abuse will not leave a situation if they feel like their pet will be in danger.
Mm-hmm.
So this enables us to provide some sort of safety and peace of mind so they can take care of themselves while they're...
And one part of the program that you talked about was, it's week by week? Is it something like that?
2-week
2
increments.
Yeah.
And the reason that we do it on 2-week increments is because we want to make sure that the pet owner does have intent on reclaiming the animal.
Right.
Sometimes things will change in someone's life and they're not able to reclaim them, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But we just need to be able to do what we need to do for the animal so that we can get
Right.
them adopted or
Right.
put them into a new home.
So does that look like just having a conversation every 2 weeks and reevaluating the situation?
Yeah, so the contract basically states you have to communicate with us
Okay.
during these 2-week periods so that we know what the status is. And if they don't, then 10 days after that 2-week period, we would then move to put the animal up for adoption.
Okay.
If we've heard nothing.
Yeah.
And we'll make attempts to reach out to them as well. But
Yeah. I'm sure in those types of situations, though, sometimes people are like between places. It's hard to
Sure.
get in touch with them. And
Yep.
So what other programs do you have that you're really excited about or proud of that we haven't talked about or highlighted, if any?
Our clinic program is a big one. So not only just the affordable and free spay neuter, but the wellness clinics that we've been able to start offering because we now have a vet on staff, and that took us 2 years to find a vet.
Really?
The housing problem made it difficult.
Yeah.
But being able to provide affordable and free wellness services for the community is important because in tying with the housing crisis and people living check to check, sometimes it's a matter of feeding themselves or getting their pet shots. So we want to be able to keep their pets healthy and do what we can so that those, again, pets can stay in the home as opposed to surrender, and that they're healthy and happy, and we don't end up having a problem later, you know, from an animal that hasn't been vaccinated or the ears haven't been cleaned or something. So that's an important one. And then we also have Oscar's Fund, which was named after a Schnauzer, Oscar, who was thrown from a moving vehicle back in 2006. He had a broken pelvis and broken legs, and we got him into the shelter, and then we fixed up all his injuries and adopted him to a local attorney who has since passed, Maggie Gutierrez. And we named this Angel Fund so that individuals who are passionate about helping homeless animals be treated for injuries or illness so that they can be adoptable can contribute. So that's a pretty important one to me, because we do often get animals that need medical assistance, and we want to be able to provide that.
Yeah.
So that's a big one.
And then send them on their way on their happy life.
Yep.
Yeah. So will you tell us a little bit more about your background and what brought you to, so you talked about your dad a little bit, which I didn't know, and that's really interesting, but like tell us a little bit more about your journey to being the executive director.
So I actually was a veterinary technician first in Austin, Texas. And then I was going to school at that time. You know, I was young, so I wanted to get a psychology degree for a period of time. I wanted to create habitats for animals in zoos at a period of time. But I ended up taking a position as clinic supervisor at the Austin Humane Society. And I worked under the executive director at that time, Karen Medicus, who then went on to the ASPCA. And she was a very big mentor and moldable factor for me in my journey in animal welfare. So I had the intent of staying in school, and then it all just became about the shelter, you know. So I made it all about Austin Humane Society and dropped out of school for a little bit. And then I was there for a while. I left there. So I was there from 94 to 2001. I left there as a shelter manager, and I took a position in Lancaster, Pennsylvania as the VP of operations. And then from there, I came down to the Florida Keys SPCA in 2005. And I've been grateful ever since. It's just been a dream to be able to help homeless animals, but also their pet owners. I mean, you know, it's easy to forget in animal welfare that there is a very large human component. And we need to be able to help the pet owners as much as we do the animals in order to reduce the number of animals that are coming into the shelter, and ultimately reduce the animals that are dying in shelters across the United States. So I think I answered the question. And I did finish my degree. So when I was a little older, I decided to go back to school. And when I was in Pennsylvania, I got my a BS from Duquesne University in nonprofit management, specifically because there was a track in partnership with Humane Society of the United States that was centered around animal welfare and animal sheltering. So that interested me.
Yeah.
And then,
I had a question, and then I just got sidetracked because I was like, that sounds like
because I'm talking too much.
No, hey, this is all about you today.
Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about. So I know that people will be so interested to hear about like your tropical weather preparation and also like what it was like. Because did you
in the old shelter?
I say in the old shelter. The new shelter seems like you guys just lock the door and kick back and
turn on Netflix and
turn on Netflix. You got generator running, and you know you got freezing cold air.
It is important to note that we do have another campus in Marathon.
Yes,
that's right.
And so Marathon's preparations are similar to what they were at the old facility. So, and that is also a wonderful facility. And the team there is amazing. And the director of operations, Tara, does whatever she can to make that facility the best it can be. So, we, in the past, before moving into our Key West facility, we would have to evacuate all of the animals from the facility 3 days before the event in order to make sure that the animals were safe and the staff were able to do what they wanted to do if they needed to evacuate. So in any given day now and then, we would have anywhere between 200 and 250 animals in the facility. But this community is one of the most pet-loving communities I have ever known. And as soon as we put that plea out for foster homes, we would have more people wanting to take an animal and keep it safe than we had animals. So, and the silver lining is 60% of the animals would become adopted at the end of the storm. They wouldn't be returned. So, in
Nice.
kitten season, we're secretly
hoping for a tropical
just a
storm.
one,
Oh my God.
just a little one.
Just a little, it's our adopt-a-thon, right?
So, it is quite different now because we would have to evacuate all the animals out in a tropical storm. It wasn't just hurricanes because you remember it floods in a rain. So
Yeah. Well, also, you said you have to do it 3 days in advance.
yeah,
Well, we all know 3 days is a long time with a hurricane.
yep,
So
It
you
could go-
evacuate those animals when you're in the cone? Is
Yep.
that when you had to do it? And
Yep.
then
it could change.
Yeah.
it easily could change, and you now evacuate. And where did you take them? Did you take them up to?
No, people,
They
the
fostered.
community.
Oh,
fostered
the
them.
community. Yes. Okay. So,
Yeah,
but you still had to put
place
that
them
car
all.
out. You then had to manage people coming and
Yeah.
picking them up.
Yep.
And
But remember, 60% get adopted.
but
Right.
60%.
So
So
some of it was
I guess
worth
maybe
it.
it was worth it, right? That's the perfect scenario, right? You're in the cone. Oh no, guys, come out and help us.
We need fosters.
And then it just takes off over water and never comes to
It makes the hurricane parties easier.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
now, like most recently, when Ian came through
Yeah.
last season, it was a very odd feeling to just shut the door.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, we do have the marathon facility. So the
Right.
marathon facility is still evacuating their animals out to reduce the number of animals in the shelter, also reduce the number of animals that need to come to the Key West facility. Because we still have to account for staff animals. Staff stay at the shelter in a storm. There's public animals that end up getting surrendered in a storm. So we have to account for the unpredictable nature of what we get in a
Yeah.
storm, pre and during and post. So,
Yeah.
but it's certainly a different.
So now your plan is shut the doors. That's
Yeah.
really the plan.
In
Get marathon down.
Get marathon. Yeah. Bring
Yeah, in a for sure a 4 or 5, some 3, depending on what these
Yeah.
storms are so unpredictable.
Yeah.
It's really hard. A 2 could be coming at us, but we have to plan for a 3.
Mhm.
Same thing if a 3 is coming at us, we have to plan for a 4.
Mhm.
So in those higher ranked storms, we will evacuate the animals out because what happens is I have staff leaving. They're panicking. They're living in situations they don't feel
Yeah.
safe in. They want to evacuate. And if I don't have staff there to take care of the animals, it presents a problem.
Mhm.
So we will, on occasion, still have to evacuate animals out of the facility.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. So, what would you say you wish people understood about animal rescue or animal welfare that they don't? Like, what are the biggest misconceptions, the things that, like, if you could just change it with the snap of a fingers and people would understand it, like, what do you wish? And it can be more than one thing.
I wish that they knew about the resources that are available before they got to a point of having to surrender their animal.
Yeah.
I wish that some individuals did more work into educating themselves about what it takes to own a pet
Yeah.
before they
Yeah.
committed to taking one.
Yeah.
And I wish that we didn't get beat up so much for our adoption process.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess-
That's what I was thinking. Like
Yeah.
the eye test, right? I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, that dog's pretty. Let me take it." But you literally want to chill on your couch all day, and that dog's running. It's a
yeah.
mini Aussie, and it's running laps around you.
Yeah.
Or a Malinois, whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think that's so important too. Is you touched on it earlier? Is like the human element of rescue and animal welfare. And Greg will tell you, I've talked about this forever because it's just one of those things that just sticks with me. And I just feel like if we were better at educating people about just animals in general, like that they are their own beings, something that like kind of bothers me is I feel like a lot of times people come, to adopt an animal or get an animal with the expectation of this animal is going to like fit in my life the way that I want them to, or they're going to be the way I want them to be without the thought of like every animal's an individual the same way that humans are. Right. And so it's like, rather than like it being an ornament, like this is a family member and like understanding and coming at it from that perspective, you'd probably make a better choice than like the eye test or whatever. So I think that that's so true. Is that if people are more educated, I think most people really do want to make a good decision, and they really want to do what's right, and they just lack the understanding of making a good decision. And I think there would be less pushback too on your very wonderful adoption process if they understood the reasoning behind
all the education that we try to give and the attempt to make a match. And also you touched on it as well, there's a responsibility to owning a pet, and they are their own being, right? So for example, I have a dog that she doesn't get along well with others. You know, she's her own dog. She doesn't want to be around other dogs. So she's a dog I can't take to the dog park. I can't even take her really on a walk where I know there's going to be other dogs because it just presents a challenge. She's happy in her life. We do take her on walks. We take her on outings in the car, and I give her that. But if I tried to force her, it just creates a problem, and sets the dog up for failure. And so there's a lot of times when we're talking to individuals about the responsibility of owning a pet, you know, it's like they glaze over. It's not a
they have like puppy fever, dog fever, or something. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Likes to run around.
I can take care of it. I've
Under
owned dogs
control.
I've owned dogs my whole life.
3 weeks later, this dog will not chill out. Can you please take it back?
He's bit 3 dogs at the dog park.
And every time that happens, you know, every time they get surrendered, those behaviors get worse, and it gets harder to place them. Which is why we're so diligent in trying to find the right match.
Absolutely.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people think, well, if there's an overpopulation problem, you know, I would always joke, like, I feel like I think in rescue, there's different philosophies, obviously, and all different, like, facilities or whatever. And I understand everything that goes into it, but I would joke around because I felt like a lot of times I've seen organizations that, like, if a car was driving by with the window rolled down, they would throw a dog in that window, you know, and I would joke about, like, it's just like, you get a dog, because they want to get the animal adopted, and you understand that mentality because, of course, you want every animal to have, like, the perfect home. You don't want them to be in the shelter environment, but it's balancing, which is what you guys are doing, balancing, you know, forethought and foresight and understanding the dynamics of what happens when you make an incorrect placement, despite, you know, a human really wanting this specific dog. You guys know, like, it's probably not a fit, and ultimately the animal is always the one who loses out.
And I always try to explain it sometimes to people to try to imagine yourself having to rehome your dog. Because that's how it is for us. I mean, we're emotionally invested in these animals. We want to make sure that they succeed. And there are animals. And I can only, you know, if I had to rehome my dog, I wouldn't just send her to anyone. So,
of course.
That's just how we think about it.
Yeah, I get it. Well, thank you for sharing that challenge and the other things you wish that people understood. So I have some kind of off-topic questions. But I'm going to hit you with a real hard-hitting one.
These were softballs we were tossing at you.
Oh, no.
So now we're getting into
the tough stuff.
I don't do well under pressure.
Oh, okay.
It's okay.
So if a dog were to wear pants, would they wear them like A, or would they wear them like
God, B?
B.
Yeah, obviously. Let me see that.
No, who picks A?
If you pick A, that's like someone who's doing the toilet paper.
Under?
Under.
Yes, the under. Yes.
My husband, who also is an animal shelter, he and I always joke about, are they legs or are they arms?
Oh.
You're
tossing a softball or a hard hitting question back at us.
Oh.
Are they arms?
Turn back on us. That's a better question than that silly thing you just asked.
That is I don't know. What do you think?
I think they're arms.
Okay.
But he thinks they're legs.
See, I was going to go with arms too, because if a dog stands up, I mean,
like
the perfect example. Sorry, Perry. I know you're sleeping really good. But here's Perry. And also, when she eats her greenie,
she holds them with her arm.
And sometimes when she wants something, she goes like, this, you know, that's not legs. Like, that's arms and hands. Yeah. Okay, we're all on the same page. Arms. Sorry, husband. So, what's your favorite thing to do in your time off? You're very limited time off.
This is a hard one because people always say, I love kayaking. I don't go. I love it. I don't do it.
Yeah.
And a large part of that is because I am an introvert by nature.
Yeah.
I've had to teach myself to be extroverted. And what that really means is when I recharge by being alone.
You're preaching.
So you're just drained.
Yeah.
So,
so I like to watch trash TV under my heated blanket in my bed.
What about a weighted blanket? Have you tried a weighted?
I have.
Okay.
I do
Yeah.
have one.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, we're totally on the same page.
It's like someone's like, "Hey, we're going out," and it's like 7:05. Right?
No.
No,
Same.
thank you. We're actually pretty busy
Laying in bed.
Yeah.
Resting.
with our babies.
Like today, it's kind of overcast and rainy.
Yeah.
I get super excited for
Yeah.
those days.
Yeah, totally.
Which we haven't had one of those in.
Yeah,
A
no, we're
long
edging
time.
into rainy season now, so hopefully we'll get some more.
Yeah, we need
On my
some.
days off, though.
Yes.
That's
Absolutely.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. And remind me, you have one dog?
Yes, pickles.
Pickles. That's right. See, I knew. I knew there was it was like a food name, but I couldn't remember. So tell us about Pickles.
Pickles came into the Florida Keys SPCA in 2013,
Okay.
and I fell in love immediately with her, and she's the best dog ever. Sorry. But
Is she a Boston Terrier?
she is a Boston Terrier Pit Bull mix. Yeah, I'm
She's
excited about
adorable.
her. She's the best dog for my son. They are best friends. She sleeps with him every night. She loves her treats and loves her toys, and she provides me with a lot of emotional support just by.
But
Able
Pickles
to
is the
cuddle her.
one who doesn't like
She
dog
does
cars.
not like other dogs
Yeah.
Does
or
she like?
vultures in the
Does
sky.
she like people?
Yes.
Besides her people.
Yes.
Okay.
Once she gets to know you, but
Okay.
she is selective.
I get it.
Yes.
I don't know.
There's a
It's, you know,
circle of trust, and
Yeah,
you're in
yeah,
it
yeah.
or you're not in it.
We definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
We
No,
definitely.
totally.
Correct,
she
Mary?
sits at the dining table, and you know,
Yeah.
people always joke like, "You're the director of a shelter. Your dog has really bad manners." But I mean, she is who she
What
is.
can you do?
Yeah. She's a family member, and she likes to sit at the table. I get it. Where's your favorite place to eat around here?
Yeah, because that's a main question we get, or not a main,
What,
but it's
favorite
one of the
restaurant?
top ones. What's the best place to eat in Key West?
We have our opinions, but we always like to ask other people because it's kind of a hot topic.
So I live up the Keys,
Okay.
Where do you live?
Sugarloaf.
Okay.
So our favorite place to eat recently has been south of the 7, but that's on Sugarloaf.
Okay.
We just never had a bad meal there, and the service is amazing. And
That's good to
yeah,
know.
they're really good people. And the owners, the chef, makes all the food, and his wife makes all the desserts, and they're so good. In Key West, I have a few. It depends what I want.
Okay.
You know, I like DJ's Clam Shack. I like to get Ipswich clams with the bellies.
That's
Okay.
funny because that's where I want to go to lunch today. We've
Is
never
it?
eaten there.
Oh my
But
god!
someone else recently suggested it to us, like high praise. That's their favorite place to go in Key West, and so that's been on our radar. So now you're the second person who
Yeah.
said it.
That's a good one.
Okay.
If I'm in the mood for a crepe, I'll go to Banana Cafe.
Okay.
On Stock Island, I like to go to Hogfish. Pizza, we go to Rustica.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm gonna give you a whole.
Yeah. No, that's great. We love it.
Hey, people are really tuning in for the food.
Yeah. Every week, when we do our podcast, just us, I'm like, okay, this is like a food podcast because I'll always have like a new snack I discovered or something, and I'm like, you guys should order this. We put it in our Amazon storefront because we just like to try new foods or like talk about the restaurants we go to or whatever. So I
Yeah.
know that's random.
Yeah,
but
we really like La Creperie
Oh yeah, they're good too.
and One Love right there on Stock Island.
I haven't been to one yet.
Oh
oh my
my
gosh, you
gosh.
have to go. We
Okay.
go at least once a week.
Oh,
It's so
Oh, yeah.
good.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
It's
I'll try it.
delicious.
Yeah.
today.
It's so good. Chef Clive, I mean, he's like a private chef, and the food truck is like this other thing that he does. But his food, honestly, we've tried almost everything on the menu. Their specials, phenomenal.
I'm
Everything.
hungry.
Everything. It's really, really good. Yeah.
He had, I forgot this, but when we went on Saturday or whenever we did on our way out of town, his special was sliders.
Like little burgers?
Yes. I wish I had seen that before
Yeah.
I ordered my tacos.
You'll have to get them.
Because I've had the hamburger, but you know, sliders are a little different, a little
Yeah.
smaller. The sweet potatoes are delicious.
Sweet
Sweet
potato
potato fries.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
And
random,
they're
but
fresh.
they're-
I've
yeah.
seen them
They
bring
they're
in like
crispy.
whole.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
See, and I'm not like a big sweet potato fry person. Like generally, like sometimes people I feel like people are like, oh, sweet potato fries. I'm not like that, but theirs are incredible. Like
Okay.
they're so good. They're
As for the chipotle aioli sauce,
Yeah, like as a
otherwise
chipotle sauce.
you'll just get like ketchup.
yeah.
Oh.
They'll get the
And if
chipotle
they
aioli.
give you any lip,
Tell them you said
tell
so.
Yes.
them that I said it.
Okay. I'll do it. My son's favorite restaurant is Kojin. He likes to get the steamed buns.
Huh. Interesting.
That's over there by the Tropic.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Kosher. Well, these are good suggestions. Thank you.
Oh yes, thank you.
Thank you. So tell us how we can support, or other people who are listening can support your efforts, I guess, whether they're local or they are from afar.
Okay. So volunteerism is one way.
Okay.
In-kind donations
Mhm.
is another way. If they want to donate, they can go to our website. They can do that online.
Okay.
FKSPCA.org.
Yeah, I'll link it.
We also accept QCDs and IRAs.
Okay.
And we just started accepting crypto.
Wow.
A new thing that we would have to have Tiffany, the development director, here to talk about that.
Yeah.
But you can find all the information on our website.
A lot of ways to donate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ways to donate. And you can actually donate to specific programs as well if you have
That's awesome.
an affinity for any
Yeah.
one of them and you want to support a specific need.
Okay. And do you guys have like an Amazon wish list or anything like that?
We do have an Amazon wish list.
Okay.
The unfortunate thing is Amazon Smile is no longer. They stopped that March 1st.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Huh.
Bummer.
And a lot of people would support us that way.
Yeah.
We would get a fair amount of gifts
That's
through
the
that.
easiest way to do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just,
Yep.
people are spending money regardless.
Yep, but we
Huh.
do have a wish list that we set up with items that we need in the shelter, mostly enrichment items for the
Okay.
animals. So,
Yeah. And that's probably linked on your website as well.
yes.
Okay, cool. And where else can people find and follow the Florida Keys SPCA? Like, are you guys on Instagram?
We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook.
Okay.
I think those are the two.
Just those
Twitter.
And Twitter.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. We'll link to all those.
Mm-hmm.
Any final thoughts or anything you want to
No, I just really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you guys. You've made it fun. I was a little nervous when I came here.
Aw. Well, thank you so much for
Yes,
coming and
thank
sharing,
you.
and
We
thank you for
appreciate it.
the work that you do.
Thank you.
We really from
Absolutely.
the bottom of
You
our
said
heart.
you're grateful. They should be grateful that they have you,
Yeah.
because it sounds like you really care and you really do a good job, and you
Yeah.
brought a lot to the Florida Keys and the SPCA.
And the animals who
And
we
the
serve.
animals.
which is
Thank
the
you.
most important.
It's a whole team effort.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
On behalf of all of them, thank you.
Yeah.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you for what you do. You're a rescue worker too. So
Well.
On that note, guys, thank you for tuning in. If you like our content, go ahead and like, subscribe, share, follow, all that good
You
stuff.
know the drill.
You know what's up. Once again, thank you very much, and
Catch
see you later. Bye.